Hey there, welcome to another edition of What's Hot with Sea of Tranquility. I'm your host, Pete Pardo, publisher and CEO of SOT. Today is Wednesday, October 25th, correct?
It is.
It is.
It is.
And by popular demand, we are back in the lair of Chris Caffery at the Silver Dollar Saloon. Here's the man himself.
Good to see you.
Welcome back.
It's been good to have you back.
Been about a year since you've been on the show, I think, right?
I know. A
Like
lot's
that.
happened. Not all tremendously good news, but it's been a really different year. I got to say that much.
Tumultuous year, yeah. A year filled with some tragedy, some good stuff as well, but I know it's been a tough year for you, and feel free to talk a little bit about some of that. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows.
The craziest thing about this last year, just to give people a sense of, it was in March of 2016 when my father passed away, which was enough right there. That's enough to hit people. And in September of 2016, I got a phone call on a Saturday that a longtime Sabotage soundman, Gary Muchmore, who I knew since I was 19, he died of a brain aneurysm. And we're all calling around trying to find our friends to tell them about the passing of Gary. And my guitar tech of 17 years, Kyle Sable, nobody could get a hold of him. And the next day, they had somebody break into Kyle's condo, and Kyle was dead for 2 days in his condo. So that had happened. And then in December of 2016, Sabotage's monitor engineer, Jan Javier, he passed away. So right there, that's between my father, Kyle, Gary, and Jan, that's enough for people for a long time.
And that's just 2016.
And they say it comes in threes, so there was four right there. And then I was out at dinner and got a phone call from my manager from TSO to tell me about the passing of Paul O'Neill, and that hit me. They always say like a ton of bricks. That hit me like somebody dropped the Empire State Building on me. It was really something that I just didn't ever think I was going to hear. I remember when I got the phone call, people told me that Chris Oliva got killed in the car accident, but Paul was our rock. He was who we always went to. When somebody passed away, I'd call Paul. When I had something that really upset me, he was the guy that I turned to, and all of a sudden it's like, well, Paul passed away. I can't call Paul to go, oh my God, Paul died. It was crazy. And then I went to a Foreigner concert up in Bethel, and there was some former TSO crew members and our TSO production manager there, and we were just talking about this because they all knew Kyle and Paul and just about how many people we'd lost. And a half hour later, my phone rings, and I missed a call, and it was from Taz, my light designer from Sabotage, who was the person who first called me to tell me about Gary Muchmore passing away. He goes, I need to talk to you. And I wasn't sure why, but I get another call or a text. He goes, dude, you have to call me. Adrenaline Mob's tour bus has been involved in an accident. And I looked online even before I called him back just to see, like on Facebook or something, and I saw that something was there, and
information was flying all over the place.
And I called him up and I said, what happened? And he said their bus had crashed or got hit, and nobody really knew the details then. And I said, well, how's Russell? He goes, Russell's okay, he's beat up. And I said, well, how's David? And he goes, he didn't make it. And it was just, you get to these points where things happen and you can't believe you're actually hearing somebody tell you this. People say become numb to the news. This wasn't even numb to the news. This was just a situation where you're going, I cannot believe what I'm hearing right now.
Yeah.
I can't believe that somebody's telling me that David Z is dead now. And the craziest part about it was having to walk back over to the other side of the stage to my friend Chris, who was teching for Foreigner on the other side, and Patrick, the stage manager, and going, I just got a phone call that Dave Z was killed. And everybody was just looking at each other with this, like, dazed and non-belief. And I walked into catering, and there was this guy there. I'm not sure exactly what he did on the crew, and he heard what we were saying. He said, well, how is my friend Janet? And I didn't put two and two together at that point in time, because I didn't know that Jane or Janet was on that tour. I saw her put some pictures online of her with Adrenaline Mob, but I didn't piece that together, because I've known her as Jane or Janet since I was 17, 18 years old. And the next day, I looked at a police report thing they had online, and it said who she was and what her condition was, because Taz or somebody told me that their tour manager was burned 60-70%, but I didn't know it was her.
Right. And
it hit me again the next day. It was like, I just did a show with her in April. We did that thing with Johnny D and Nick and Virus. We did that Headbangers Ball thing opening for Rat in Pennsylvania. I mean, it's like, Jane was one of my best friends. You know, she was somebody that I always saw and hung out with. And when the guy said Janet, I just didn't put two and two together. And we were all praying that she was going to be okay, but she didn't make it either. So it's been a crazy year, man. It's makes you think a lot about, you know, what's going on in the current. And you know, people always say prepare for the future, this, that, and the other thing. It's like, you prepare for the future, but you know what? You gotta live your life for what's going on today.
You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you gotta stop worrying about all the bullshit that's going on in the world, and who hates this person and that person, and this crap you look at freaking news. It makes me sick to my stomach. Mm-hmm. These whiners, these people that we pay, by the way. I don't want to get political, but it's like, we pay their salaries, and all they do is whine 24/7 about nothing. And it's like, it's ridiculous, you know. It's like, there's real life problems, and they're obviously not in a reality situation enough to deal with them. The popularity contest, it makes me sick to my stomach now. But you know, we have to learn that life is like that. You know, who would have known? You know, that they would pull over the side of the road and the truck driver would fall asleep, and it happened like that.
Just like that, yeah.
And Russell was in front of the RV with David a minute before that hit, and he walked around the corner to do something, and we might have lost Russell too. So it's pretty crazy. So this TSO tour is going to be filled with a lot of emotion. You know, losing Paul was something that, you know, none of us ever thought we were going to have to deal with. And
so was there ever a time, like after Paul's passing, where you guys were thinking, is TSO still going to still happen? Do we carry on? How do we carry on without our leader there? So was that ever a discussion, or did you guys always know that regardless, you know, we've got to continue this thing?
My position was, I didn't even ask. You know, if I was so numb by this that I wanted to hear what everybody else had to say. You know, and I wanted to hear what the family had to say and what everybody thought. But when I was at Paul's services, his wife came up to me and said that, I need you to be there. We have to keep his music and his memory going. And she said, I need you. And it was before any decisions were stated. So I think in her heart, she knew she wanted to keep the music going, you know, and she knew Paul discovered me when I was 17 years old, and she told me a lot of things that didn't necessarily break my heart. My heart was already broken, but made me really, really sad and happy at the same time about how Paul felt about me throughout the years. I mean, he cradled me. He found me, and
Sure.
I had a home and I still have a home, you know, for over 30 years with him. And you know, when to hear her say that he needs me to be there, then I'm going to be there. You know, I'm going to be there for him and his family and for the music and the legacy and help just carry on. You know, that's, I think, all he ever wanted us to do anyway. I don't think he imagined he wouldn't be there with us, but, you know, there's a lot of people, I mean, Jesus, me, myself, and even Oliva, I mean, we're the ones that are still kicking around, and a lot of people would have bet, if you would have bet money 30 years ago on who would be the ones that wouldn't be around, probably me and John would have been in the top 2. So,
so, you know, here we are, you know, obviously a lot of tragedy. It's been a tough last year and a half. So the decision to continue on with TSO has been made. You're getting ready to set for the upcoming tour and rehearsals and whatnot. So that's what next
it's going to be awesome. I mean, it's going to be a lot
It's going to be emotional for fans.
A lot of celebrating and a
yeah.
lot of crying.
Yep.
And, you know, I think it's something we need as a band, and I think the fans really need it too. They need to come out and see it, especially with the situation with David as well. It's going to be really hard for us in the East Coast bands to just get through the first day of rehearsal. You know,
Yeah.
I can imagine what the tour is going to be like. There's going to be a lot of points on the road where and people won't even see it. We'll be on the bus, and there'll be silly little things that'll happen that you'll make you remember. It was like that when Daryl Pettiford passed away. He was my roommate on the tour at the time, because we didn't get even to the point where we had our own rooms yet, and you know, it's just a lot of memories and a lot of little things. And you know, Daryl had passed away while we were rehearsing for the tour, so you know, it's not anything we're unfamiliar with in it or can say you get used to, but it's going to be brutal out there sometimes. It's going to be a really emotional tour, but we're glad that the fans will be there to help us.
Yeah, of course. What can the fans look forward to as far as like a set list? Have you guys talked about that yet, or?
Well, we're gonna once again put on Paul's story, what was in The Ghost of Christmas Eve that we did for, which is the very first thing we ever filmed with TSO as a piece and a TV special. We did it a long time ago, and it's been received so well. So we were going to do that again, regardless of what the situation was. And the same thing we always do with the TSO show. We change the beginning a little, and we change up the end a little, and the stage set's always completely new and dynamic, and this one's really awesome. It's got a completely different look to it. Brian Hartley always outdoes himself, and you know, him and Paul, whatever little time they had together this year, they were able to assemble this one, and we're all just gonna have to do. I tell everybody, it's like, you know, you just have to do what we always did, because that's what made Paul happy. When we walked up on that stage, Paul was back there by the soundboard watching, and if he came up to you after the show and he grabbed you and he said, that was God, it's like you knew that you made him happy.
Yep.
And making him happy obviously worked for the crowd, or we wouldn't have a 20-year history of selling out concerts. And he knew what TSO was and what the people wanted, or what he wanted to have us be portrayed as, and that's all we have to do. We just have to go up there. I'd say it this way: when Paul was in the audience, for some reason, he would stand back there by the soundboard. He'd have his sunglasses on, and obviously you couldn't see who he was looking at because he was so far away. But I always felt like every single minute of the show he was watching me. Well, now I tell everybody that every single minute of every show he's going to be watching you. And that's the way that you got to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure the tour is going to go great, and I know once you get those first 2 shows out of the way, I think it'll get a little easier after that.
Like I said, I think the rehearsal is going to be tougher than the shows.
Yeah, you're probably right. Well, because you're not going to have the energy of the crowds there, for the rehearsals. So good. So that's coming up. So if you don't already, you guys have announced all the tour dates, right?
Yeah.
So if you haven't got,
selling out like crazy.
Yeah. So if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, make sure you go ahead.
Yeah, you got to actually go quickly, because there's a lot of these shows. Like normally, if I can't get guest tickets from my friends, I can purchase them through the promoters. It's at a point now where the only seats that are left are what's left on Ticketmaster. Like all the promoter held seats, they're going. I mean, this show this year is selling like crazy.
Cool. So in addition to that, like if he wasn't busy enough, so Chris is involved in a couple other things here. So he's got working on with a couple other notable folks in the hard rock and metal community on a project with Frontiers Records.
Mm-hmm.
Those
Spirits
of
of Fire.
Spirits of Fire.
With Ripper Owens and Steve Di Giorgio and John Zonder. It's entering the mixing stage, and I don't know the exact release date. It was funny because I always told people that I wasn't going to be one to do one of these project things, but Ripper has been a friend of mine for a very long time, and I had the opportunity to work with him, and we've toured together. I did actually the last solo tour I did with him was the very last tour that Ronnie Dio ever did with Heaven and Hell. It was a great opportunity, and we've just been friends for a long time. So I wanted to do this record with Ripper, but the people involved are very busy, and including Roy Z, the producer. So it's just taking a little bit of time to get to the point where it's at. But I believe the music should be completely. The music's finished, but the album should be finished by the end of the year, and we're looking at a release date sometime. I think in the spring.
Yeah,
so
okay.
We're hoping for that. And then in the meantime, I'm pretty much 95% finished writing my next solo record. I've already sent 9 of the 10 songs that I'm sending to Brian Tishy for drums on it. So he's got 9 of them. Yeah, he did my last one, and he kind of read my mind. One of these things where you have, because I'm a drum program midget, no, I would say midget, little person, but I'm not very good at it. So, but I would send the stuff to Brian, and when I would get it back, he just really has a great sense for what I would hear in parts, and I was deciding what I wanted to do with the drums on this record, and I emailed him, like, are you busy? And he said he could do it. So I'm like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So he's got 9 of the 10 I'm sending him, and the record's probably going to have 13 songs, with the last 3 being ones that really don't need drums, a couple small guitar pieces, and a ballad that may have some drums that I might be able to do myself in a padding kind of a way. But I'm really happy with it. This record, which I'm going to be calling The Jester's Court.
Cool name.
Yeah, thank you. It's kind of about, the clown's finally getting to be his own boss, which, yes, it is about me. So take it whichever way you want. Throughout these years, it's, you work for everybody, and I'm at a point where I can work for myself. And that comes through whether it is music or my hot sauce or Drew Weber. But, there's a lot of different things, and I think it's just a matter of a lot of things, whether it was me getting my stuff together musically or personally, you're just kind of growing up, and it's kind of about the world being my own playground, so to speak, now, and I can do whatever I want with it. I'm in a very fortunate position, and when I can make my own music whenever I want to, and I'm lucky enough to have bands like Trans-Siberian Orchestra and even Sabotage, which who knows what the future is going to hold for that band. We've been talking. I mean, it's not a secret. People ask me all the time. I don't know. I mean, I would love to see something happen, and it's been a huge part of my soul in my life for a long time. So if something Sabotage was to happen, not saying something is, but we've been talking because with Paul's death, there's a lot of uncertainty with the future. It's like, what do we do? Do we do this? Do we do that? Do we try this? Do we try that? And I would love to see that happen. So I just think, like I said, it's a great time in my life, but there's a lot of hardship to deal with, and it makes you focus, and it makes you, like I said, appreciate every day, appreciate every person you have in your life every day, because you don't know. You can just like that, boom, all of a sudden.
I think a lot of people will agree with what I'm going to say next. I think there's a lot of unfinished business when it comes to Sabotage.
Of course there is.
I mean, I think most folks would love to hear another album of all new material. I think seeing some additional live dates would be great as well. But I still think that that chapter is not yet done.
Well, the thing that excites me is I look at Facebook today and I see Judas Priest is touring arenas with Saxon
and Black Star Riders. What a great triple bill that is!
Yeah. So it's like, here you go. Here's Saxon, a band that's somebody that I saw, I think, for the first time when I was 13. That's still going, and this younger generation of metal fans are getting a chance to see them for the first time. And I know for a fact that Sabotage holds this place now. It's almost like creepy because we're one of the few metal bands that hasn't reappeared and played. These kids want to see this band, and I always tell the guys in the band, because the guys in the band are like, well, if we toured the States, who knows what would happen in Europe, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, you don't get it. There's generations of metal fans everywhere that would be waiting to see this band, and we're the one band, really. I mean, I could say that honestly. I can't think of another one where the members are all still alive, other than Chris Oliva, rest his soul, right? We're around and we could play. And I think that whole possibility is something that's exciting. The fact that the one show we did do in the last 15 years was in front of, headlining in front of 80,000 people kind of says something.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And just to go back to the Saxon thing, I think it's a shame it took this long, but I'm really happy that Saxon is going to have the opportunity to play in front of 15,000, 18,000 people a night for this Judas Priest.
They're an awesome band.
Good,
and they're one of the best modern live bands too. They still kick ass.
Yeah. Hell yeah. So that's good. So you got a lot of stuff going on. Also, too, since we talked last, you did a stint playing with Metal Church, too. You want to talk a little bit about that? I know it's a little while ago now.
That was fun. I was, it was a weird stretch in 2016. Right around the time when my dad had passed away, I was down in Florida doing a cruise with Jimmy Sturr. And I got a phone call from Jane, and Jane was asking me if I was available. Her band, Not By Sight, was opening for Puddle of Mud in a couple weeks, and she had needed me to play guitar. So she sent me like 10 songs, and I had to learn them. The 10 songs I didn't know in my head, which is it's easy to play songs, not easy, but easier to remember songs in your head if you have to learn them. But songs you've never heard take longer for you to remember, obviously. So I was walking around the beach, learning her music, and I get home, and I had like 5 days to actually play her music because I didn't have a guitar on me at that time. I sent all my stuff with Jimmy's bus back to New York. So I had 5 days to learn her music, and I get a phone call from Doro's manager telling me that her guitar player might have a problem with his visa to go on the Monsters of Rock cruise. So I was like, well, let me know. And this was the week, I think the cruise was leaving on a Monday. This was probably the Wednesday before the Wednesday before. It was over
2 weeks.
Yeah, just about 2 weeks before. And I didn't hear anything from him. So I practiced for Jane's shows, and on Jane's show was on a Thursday night. I had to drive to Pennsylvania to rehearse with her and the band on a Wednesday. I got a phone call from Doro's manager on a Wednesday saying, everything's fine. We don't need you.
Okay.
And now I would have been practicing Doro's music for that week had I knew there was even a possibility it was going to happen. But he said, no, we don't need you. So I'm like, fine. And my brain was already a little stretched out as it was from learning this stuff. And so I finished the show with Jane and her band opening for Puddle and Mud. And I know the singer made it for like 3 songs like usual. But,
that guy's a mess.
The next day I wake up, I'm driving home. And I went into a rest area, and my phone was in my pocket. I actually went to a Starbucks. Yes, I do go to Starbucks, $5 a cup. But I see it was missed call. It was from Doro's manager. I'm like, oh no. And I knew exactly what it was going to be. I knew it. I call him back, and he said Boz got stuck in Germany. We need you on the boat on Monday. And I was like, oh, Lord. So I said, yeah, I can do this. And they send me a set list the next day of 32 songs, and she had to do 2 one-hour shows. So this is Doro, because Doro has to have every song on her repertoire ready in case somebody, I love her to death, but if somebody says, I want to hear metal tango, she has to play metal. So she's got, to play literally 10 songs, but hands me 32. And I played with her before, and I played like 26 songs with her, but 12 of the songs that she sent me were ones I never played. So she couldn't make my life easy. She had
no time to do
And then there was ones, of course, that I never heard. So the manager wanted me to get on the plane on Sunday, to get on the boat on Monday. I said, dude, I need a couple days at home. So I got a plane flight for the Monday morning, which was delayed. I was the last person on the boat. They were holding the ropes. We rehearsed that night in the church of the boat with Doro up there acoustically with Johnny D banging on stools. And I went to sleep. We got up, and the show was at 2 in the afternoon on the Tuesday, and we didn't have to play again until like midnight on Thursday, and I think I was completely shit-faced until then because I just had it. I was like, oh my God. But amidst that, I ran into Metal Church guys, of course, I knowing Jeff Clayton, and they told me that they had a problem. They had a different guitar player on that boat, that their guitar player had his retina detached, and they had the United States tour going on, and would I be interested in doing it? Like my brain wasn't tortured enough by going through Jane's Not By Sight songs and Doro's 32 songs. I was now being presented with a week and a half to learn Metal Church's stuff, or however long it was. It was a little bit longer, but actually they didn't let me know. They were like, well, let's talk about this. And I got off the boat and I got home, and I got the emails from Jeff Plate, says, do you want to do this? And I'm like, all right. And that was a great time for me. I really had fun with that band. I enjoy that music. I think Mike Howe is one of the
great singer,
unexposed gems of metal. He
Kurt's
disappeared,
a hell of a nice guy.
Yeah, he has got a voice that's ageless and timeless, and he's a great frontman. And I was glad to see him return, and there was definitely a chemistry there. It's nothing against the current lineup that they have, but there was just something with when me and Jeff were there with that particular lineup of that band that I think was something that felt to me like I think could have grew like the Sabotage thing did with the fans. It was really fun. It was cool. But my time was limited in that, and I knew that, and I appreciated that I got a chance to play that bit of time with them. But that was fun. I got a chance to be in Metal Church for a month. That was
a lot of great songs, right?
Oh my God, and it was a lot of great songs they still didn't even do. I mean, when you turn around and Gods of Wrath and Metal Church weren't even in the set, you got a lot of material.
Yeah, oh yeah, and those are classics. Yeah. Those are classics. That's cool. It's some great stories. So a lot going on with this guy, right?
Oh yeah, Will the Metal Fit. He's still around, kicking. He, God, this is funny what had happened with this. It just keeps developing. The jewelry and kids' clothes and coffee mugs and everything. And next year, I'm going to take it to a whole nother level because I'm working with some investors and stuff. What it started as small little ideas turned into something pretty cool. The sea glass stuff I do is really fun too. That wound up in that time that I would spend in between, Jimmy Sturr shows in Florida in the wintertime. I would just look for sea glass, and ever since then, I mean, I started making necklaces out of that, and that's a lot of fun. I enjoy that. It's kind of like a nice creative volume for me. I sit there and I carve the glass, and I started coloring them, and that's cool. And the hot sauce thing is doing great. They High River Sauces line is starting to really take off. We got picked up by all the Price Chopper stores here in the New York area, and we're hoping to expand that. And Steve Seabury is added in a Chicago hot sauce expo this year, so we're sponsoring New York, Anaheim, Phoenix, Portland, Chicago, plus the Taco Fest in Jersey. There's a lot of good things going on.
Good.
So it's just a really busy time. Like I said,
How far are we away from a Wilbur animated special?
You know what? I'm speaking to animators now because I want to try to get his first children's book done. So if you know
cool.
anybody that's a really good animator, let me know because I definitely want to bring him to life. It's time.
Yeah.
And especially with being in the town of Goshen with Legoland coming, I think it's time for a Lego Wilbur.
I think so.
Even though Wilbur's very upset because we're not even watching it. There's a Dodgers World Series game on right now with somebody besides the Yankees, so it's really not anything we're happy
I'm a
about.
Met fan, so we're not even going to go there.
Yeah, that's I like the Mets. They're fun to pick on, but I actually grew up. I grew up with an older brother who was a Yankee fan who forced me to like the Mets. I'm talking the John Milner, Rusty Staub, Ron Swoboda Mets. So I know. But in '86, I owned Mets everything. But
it was a great year. It's a long time ago. We need to have a repeat. I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah, they'll get it together
eventually.
In the next 40 years.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
So anyway, lots going on in the world of Chris Caffery, so make sure you go out and get your TSO tickets. If you got them already, you're going to have a wonderful time as always. Look out for his upcoming solo record.
Yeah, that I believe is going to be late June or July, which I'm really excited about this record. This record, to me, I know everybody always likes what they're doing personally, but this one has... I have the feeling like I had when I was doing my very first solo record. It feels really fresh, and it's got that kind of blend. There's stuff that's really heavy. And it's not a lot. There's a couple things that are mellow. There's like one song that's kind of got the Music Man thing with the acoustic and a lot of vocals, but for the most part, it's really heavy, and there's some really, really cool, dare to say, right from my roots, 80s Maiden, Priest kind of metal stuff. I went for something that feels right, and this record really feels good to me. I'm really happy with it. And
sounds good.
As I sent the music out and I listened back to what I sent, I sit there and I was like, okay, I think I got it all covered. And I was going, I forgot I needed one epic kind of song, and then the song that I forgot that I sent came on. I'm like, I have all the pieces. This record has everything that I thought it needed, and I think you guys are really going to like it.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I thought your last one was probably your best since the first one, so sounds good to me.
I think you're going to dig this one. To me, this is Faces Mach 10.
Mach 10. All right. Sounds good. So... thanks for joining us. So for Chris Caffery, I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for joining us on another edition of the Sea of Tranquility's
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, right around the corner. Tune in next time. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming with lots of new releases and all that good shit. So till then, signing off from the Silver Dollar Saloon. Take care, everybody.
Signing off from the Silver Dollar Saloon.
So long. Bye-bye.